Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Giribharadhari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Giribharadhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashto Tarasata Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Granthara Shimam Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Shigoramla. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonon, Chapter 74, the killing of the demon H.G.Subala, right? Text number 54. Ya idam kirtayet Vishno karma chaidya padadikam karma chaidya vadadikam rajamoksham vitanam cha sarva papai pramuchate. Ya idam kirtayet Vishno karma chaidya vadadikam rajamoksham vitanam cha sarva papai pramuchate. Ya idam kirtayet Vishno karma chaidya vadadikam rajamoksham vitanam cha sarva papai pramuchate. Please chant. Jaidam kirtayet Vishnu karma chaidya vadhadikam vitanancha sarva papai pramuchate. Jaidam kirtayet Vishnu karma chaidya vadhadikam sarva papai pramuchate. Rajamoksha vitanancha sarva papai pramuchate. Jaha, who, idam, this, kirtayet, chants, Vishnu, of Lord Vishnu, karma, activities, chaidyavadha, the killing of Shishupala, adikam, and so on, Raja, of the kings who were imprisoned by Jarasandha, moksham, the deliverance, Vitanam, the sacrifice, Cha, and Sarva, from all papai, sinful reactions, Pramuchate, he is free. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. One who recites these activities of Lord Vishnu, including the killing of Shishupal, the deliverance of the kings, and the performance of the Rajasuya sacrifice, is free from all sins. And thus end the purpose of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 74th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Deliverance of Shishupal at the Rajasuya Sacrifice. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Srimate Roma Paraswami. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Pasyatyadi Satarine. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. This is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's very short purport on this verse. He who glorifies the activities of Vishnu, the killing of Shishupal, the release of the kings, and the sacrifice, Vitanam, will be free of all sins. And Srila Jiva Goswami comments, Duryodhan and others grieve in spite of seeing Krishna directly because they did not have devotion. All others, however, became happy since they have bhakti. That is expressed in this verse. Qualification is not necessary. One who recites the killing of Shishupal by Krishna, who spread throughout the universe Vishnu by revealing his special glories, is free of all obstacles to bhakti. Adhikam means and the installation of Yudhishthira. Srila Sanatana Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami paraphrased some of the comments of, not paraphrase, but he quotes from Srila Sanatana Goswami's commentary. So they're very similar, but there's some added things. So I'm going to read it. Duryodhana and others grieve in spite of seeing Krishna directly because they did not have devotion. All others, however, became happy since they have bhakti. That is expressed in this verse. Now, here's further Srila Sanatana Goswami. Or, it is astonishing that H.G.Subala and Jarasandha attained liberation from Krishna directly. From hearing of their killing, one will obtain the supreme destination by the power of the Lord. That is explained in this verse. Qualification is not necessary. One who recites the killing Shishupal by Krishna, who spreads throughout the universe Vishnu by revealing his special glories, is free of all sins, including prarabdha sins, in a remarkable way, pramuchate. Prarabdha, of the different types of sins, prarabdha and aparabdha. So prarabdha is the ones that are that you're experiencing right now. And aparabdha is the ones that are to come, the ones who are unmanifested yet. So one is free of all sins, including prarabdha sins, in a remarkable way, pramuchate. He obtains Vaikuntha greater than liberation. Adhika means and the installation of Yudhishthira. So, very much close to the previous verse in which yesterday we heard that Duryodhana was very, very unhappy. And the unhappiness came from this quality that is called envy. And envy pretty much connected to a sinful state of existence. It is explained that because he was so sinful, then he was in this position of envy towards Krishna. So this specific quality of envy is singled out in the scriptures, especially in Bhagavad Gita, as something that is basically the characteristic that blocks our capacity to accept and to understand Krishna, or to understand anything to do with transcendental knowledge. Envy. Envy. The word that Krishna used as a qualification for receiving transcendental knowledge in the 9th chapter, Krishna starts like that. The 9th chapter is the chapter that tells about Bhakti Yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. The supremacy of Bhakti Yoga. And he declares that this knowledge of Bhakti is the king of all knowledge, is the king of all secrets. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam. And he says to be qualified, the specific qualification is that he tells Arjuna, I'm delivering this knowledge to you, which is the greatest of all knowledge, because you are non-envious. The word is anusujave, anusujave. So anusuja means it's a quality of a devotee that have no envy towards Krishna. Envy then is a suja, what is it? Anusujave. Sujave, sujave, no. Anusuya, and yes, Sujave. Sujave means envy. Prabhupada describes like that. So now, this quality of envy is something that is ingrained in the conditioned soul. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Icha Dvesha Samutena Dvanda Mohena Bharata, that influence, or when one falls into this material world, one immediately comes with these two qualities that are there. Or like Christians, they explain there's an original sin. This original sin is what brings Adam and Eve into the material world. They fall from the spiritual space. The garden of, whatever, the garden of Eve or something. So you fall down into the material world by the original sin. In the Bible, it's explained that is depicted by the eating of the forbidden fruit. So open to much interpretation, but the Bhagavad Gita tells us what is that original sin that brings us into the material world, and this Icha and Dvesha. Icha and Dvesha. O son of Bharat, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion. So, delusion, you fall into the material energy and you're born into this delusion. And where is this delusion comes? From the dualities of desire and hate, Icha and Dvesha. The word Dvesha, hate, is also translated as envy. So the Acharyas explain Icha and Dvesha, desire and hate, or desire and envy. Desire for Krishna's position, envy of Krishna's position, of Krishna, because he has that position. So the original sin is that we want to take the position of Krishna. What it will be like if I'm in that position to be the center of all, the supreme enjoyer. And that brings a living entity into the material world. So one falls into delusion. Sarva Bhutani Sammohan. Sammohan means delusion. Delusion. So one take birth into delusion in this material world. So to have a material body automatically means that these two things are very much ingrained into the consciousness of the conditioned soul. Desire for Krishna's position and hate towards Krishna, or envy towards Krishna. And that in itself is what takes the living entity into a situation in which you actually constantly engaging in sinful activities. As long as that's there, well, as long as we are not purified from that delusion of desire and hate, then we're going to be experience in a spiral down into sinful activities. And so we're caught in what is called, a cycle of birth and death. You're caught into a cycle that you can't come out of it. It's impossible. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to break that cycle. because the delusion of the material energy is very powerful. Daibihesha gunamayi mamamaya duratyaya duratyaya. Very difficult to overcome the illusion or the delusion that is imposed in us by material nature, that is due to this duality of desire and hate, icha and dvesha. Prabhupada explains that how this duality, this desire and hate expands or manifests into the activities of the conditioned souls. So it's basically expand into one is thinking that I am the body, and then this is mine, the whole thing of the false ego. And through that, then one have to experience the dualities of aversion and attraction, attachments. So then you make choices. One is forced. It's actually quite something, because it's not only happen in a gross space in which you make choices. Oh, I don't like this, or I like this. It's something very conscious. I don't like this type of whatever situation. I like this situation, and you make choices according to that. Very, very consciously, you make choices according to what you like and what you don't like. Aversions and attractions, attachment. But the worst thing is that it's also in the subtle level. And one is forced, without being conscious, to make choices according to that concept of duality. So that is called, in modern psychology, that is called what is a bias? Implicit bias. Implicit bias. There is explicit biases. I like, I don't like. And there is implicit bias. Something that I'm not conscious, but I'm making choices almost by the force of an unconscious way. And people, they're not thinking, for example, a bias that is based on a particular mental model that we have. It's here in the mind and it's on the subconscious. Then I think this type of people, or this race of people, are thieves. And then every time I see a person of that type of profile, then I close my window, even without thinking. So I'm acting on a bias like that, but I'm not thinking, I don't like this type of people, but automatically there is something that happens. So one is forced, when one is in that position of envy towards Krishna, when one is afflicted by the dualities, then that takes all kinds of things that force us to act in the material world in a sinful manner. We become much absorbed with my identity, my world, and basically one is go deeper into the delusion of the mode of ignorance, like that. Krishna is explained throughout the scriptures. So the important aspect here is now the scriptures, the Bhagavatam, the Acharyas, Guru, they're giving us the path to become free or to become purified from this delusion. In the words of this Upanishad, this delusion is called avidya. Avidya. So one have to move to the space of vidya, transcendental knowledge. In the Upanishad, vidya is described that one has full understanding of Krishna's position. Prabhupada explained it as the Ishavasya principle. One have an understanding of the Supreme Controller. In the first mantra of the Upanishad, that Ishavasya principle is described. That one understands that Krishna is the proprietor of everything. And he provides for each one of us a perfect arrangement, a quota. And we have to accept that quota in a very grateful manner and go through our lives understanding Krishna's position and our position. And we can cultivate in that way the life of vidya, of transcendental knowledge. In the Bhagavatam, binding the instructions of the great personalities, the great devotees, this principle is broken down much more clearly. Especially when it comes, the recurring theme that we have in here is by absorption in the narration, in the glories of the personality of Godhead, we become free from all these propensities, sinful propensities, and become purified. So how do we become free? When we become purified from these original sins that causes all this absorption in dualities, which is the desire of Krishna's position and the envy towards Krishna. So, from our perspective, we're devotees, or we're aspiring devotees. But, from Krishna's very generous and merciful position, we're devotees. We're sukritinas. We're people who are approaching Him, and we're cultivating the path of devotion. We have accepted Krishna's position. We have accepted our position and our relationship with Krishna. And we're accepting the process of devotional service, and we're going through the process of, by practicing devotional service, we are taking the process of purification. We have accepted that. And our acharyas explains that that's the right position to be. And we can feel very, very good about it when we understand the instructions. And, recently I was doing a little presentation, and I was going through the Brahma Vimohan Lila. The Brahma Vimohan Lila is quite beautiful and very relevant to us, especially because the prayers of Lord Brahma after he becomes um, after by Krishna's mercy his bewilderment becomes dispelled, and then he offered these beautiful prayers. Among these beautiful prayers and some of the most important prayers that devotees learn in order to deal with all the obstacles that we have to go through devotional service. They're very, very target to devotees. Because sometimes we hear situations that may apply to other problems that we have. But the beauty of the Bhagavatam is that the Bhagavatam, you have narrations of so many Sudha Bhaktas or pure devotees and how they deal with the different obstacles and difficulties that they're part of material life. Material life is dukhalayam by design. So there's obstacles. As when we are in this material world, we're going to be facing one after another obstacles, obstacles, and obstacles, problems. Prabhupada explained in the in chapter 2, text number 7, in the purport of the Bhagavad Gita verse, when Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, I am your disciple. I don't know what to do. So Prabhupada explained that these perplexities are natural in the material world. We don't ask for them to come. They appear, they come, and then we become perplexed. So the Bhagavatam gives us narrations of these Sudha Bhaktas, how they deal with these perplexities, how they deal with all these problems. And for Lord Brahma was something that is a very important lesson for us devotees. They're all very important, but Lord Brahma is quite something because Lord Brahma, he's a dedicated, he's a pure devotee. He understands Krishna perfectly. And the circumstance was like this. He just observed, he was hovering in the sky when Krishna was killing the Agasura demon. Remember? He was, observing, and he saw Krishna dealing with Agasura. And then the Agasura, when he got killed, he saw hover in the sky. Brahma is looking at this, Lord Brahma, and then zoom, merge into the body of Krishna. Lord Brahma, perfectly aware of Krishna's position, was in awe. He had the desire, oh, how wonderful the activities of Krishna. I would like to witness more of that the sweet lila of the Lord, the sweet pastimes. He had that desire. Now, there's also other devotees. Krishna, when he does something to fulfill many, many purposes. Krishna had within his mind, too, the desire to fulfill the desires of his devotees in Vrindavan. All the different mothers, cowherd ladies, they had the desire to have Krishna as their son. They were thinking, oh, how would it be like when Krishna comes back from the forest, tending the cows, to just like Mother Yashoda, just sitting in my lap and then feeding, and then putting to bed, and then bathing in the morning and dressing. How would that, I would desire that very much. So they have that very strong desire. The cows, when Krishna was milking them, the cows with great love were thinking, how will be if Krishna is my calf? So I can give him unlimited milk, as much as he wants, directly from my udders. And the cowherders, they were thinking as they see Krishna coming back, oh, if only this most beautiful Krishna be my husband, that will be the perfection of my life. So now Krishna wanted to fulfill all these desires. He wanted to fulfill the desires of the mothers and the cows. He wanted to fulfill the desires of the cowherd girls. He wanted to fulfill the desire of Lord Brahma, and he wanted to fulfill his own desire to relish all the different, the love of his devotees. Yogamaya comes and say, my dear Lord, I understand your desires, and I'm going to work right now to make an arrangement to fulfill it. She grabs Lord Brahma and put this idea in Lord Brahma's head. He looks like a little boy, and he's Vishnu, my Lord Vishnu. I want to test to see what is the extent of this little boy's power against my power. That idea came into his head. Now, that doesn't supposed to be there. That idea is what is called this bimohan, bewilderment or delusion. It's a delusion. Mohan, like this verse, Ichadvesha Samutena, Sarva Mohena, this mohan is delusion. Delusion means that you forget Krishna. You can't recognize Krishna. And therefore, you're competing against Krishna. There's the manifest with, I'm as good as Krishna. Let me test my powers. Maybe he comes and I will steal the cowherd boys and the cows, and we'll see how Krishna reacts. He may come to me and ask, where are my cows and my friends? So he got that delusion, be Mohan. And then he did the whole thing, and Krishna showed, during that year, then what happens? Lord Brahma goes back, he steals the cows, he goes back to Brahmaloka, and then a whole year passed. In that whole year, what happens? Well, Krishna has expanded as the cowherd boys and the calf, and then the mothers and the fathers, they had Krishna as their son. So the desire was fulfilled. And the calf, the cows, have Krishna as their calf. The desire was fulfilled. Krishna enjoyed, and the gopis, during that year, Garga Muni, the great priest, he gave the instruction or the guidance, the guidance to the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Now these young girls and the young boys, they can get married. So he arranged for the marriage of all the cowherd boys with the cowherd girls. But all those cowherd boys during that year was Krishna, expansions of Krishna. So he fulfilled the desires of the girls. Now what happened to Lord Brahma? His desire was, I want to see more of the sweet pastimes, right? But he gets put in this pickle because now he's covered by this delusion. His delusion was dispelled when Krishna manifested, the forms of Lord Vishnu in each one of these cowherd boys. And then Lord Brahma realized the great mistake that he made. And this great mistake is something that is, it's like this. And it's something that can, in general, we have to face because we're devotees. We want to serve our spiritual master. We want to serve our founder Acharya. We want to serve the deities. And we want to serve the devotees. And we sincerely want to do that when we're devotees. That's our intent, isn't it? We want to do that. But we have to make choices all the time. We're put in positions that we have to make choices in situations. Oh, I serve like this, I serve like that. Oh, I'm given this responsibility, so I have to communicate like this, I have to do that. And, you constantly have to deal with different arrangements in this world and manage it. And you have to make choices. And you have to make choices in a way that you please Krishna and please the Guru and Krishna and the Vaishnavas. So we constantly make like that. And we find ourselves in many situations in which you make a choice that you regret. I was trying to serve and all of a sudden someone gets offended. Many of us have been in that situation. Our intent was to serve, and the result is people are unhappy and offended or whatever. So, why did I say that? Or why did I do that? I knew better. So Lord Brahma is thinking like that. Why in the world I have this thought that came like that? I knew better. I knew that he is Lord Vishnu. I knew that. How did I offend my Lord? And such a terrible offense. So he offered these prayers. He offered the prayers that give us the path to become free from that propensity that is basically, or that delusion, that mohan, that delusion that forces us to not recognize Krishna. And then he says, the famous verse, that te nukampan, that, you, regardless, you can remain in your position, whatever position you are, whatever ashram you are, you may be a student, you may be a grihasta, you may be a sannyasi, whatever ashram, in any position, social position that you are. First of all, you accept the results that we have to go through, or the consequences of our actions. So if we make a transgression, we owe that transgression. And we accept with two things, gratitude and repentance. The gratitude because the Lord is allowing us to actually understand much deeper the reality of our consciousness by exposing those things. And the other one is being regretful, being genuinely regretful. And when you're regretful, then two things are there. You humble down yourself and you make amendments. So Lord Brahma say, in that mood, you wait patiently. Because that's the other thing. If we don't have the right attitude, when we caught doing something wrong, or when we do something that we regret, and then we apologize, if I think that this um, apology means that I should be forgiven, and that should be immediately, hey, I'm apologizing to you. Why are you still upset? Like that. That shows that you still don't have it. You are not really regretful. Regretful, Lord Brahma says, you patiently wait for the Lord to show his mercy on you. And while you're doing all that, you absorb yourself. And he says that you absorb yourself, you take to the process of absorbing in the narrations of the personality of God and of his glories, which are narrated by him or by his great devotees. But he says how that absorption should be, or how that absorption is able to happen. And it's when you are able to align your body, your mind, or your heart, and your words in this process. This alignment is not a simple thing. This alignment means that, all these things, body, mind, or heart, words, are aligned with your understanding of your spiritual identity. So there is a perfect alignment. When that is there, that is pure bhakti. And in that Suddha Bhakti position, you are free from this delusion. So now, what this leaves us? Because here we are, and the proof that my heart and my mind is not aligned is when we, the actual experience that shows that is when we're chanting. When we're chanting, we experience that sometimes I try to bring my mind back and my mind is there, aligned with the actions of my body, which is, vibrating. My tongue is vibrating the name. My mind is focused on hearing that name. And also the vibration, my words are chanting the holy names of the Lord. So, and I'm, my beats and things like that, or sitting, there's an action, there's words, and there's my mind aligned. And when we do that, the holy name is present. But when my mind is flying all over the place, then what is present in that situation is what is called nama abhas, or is what is called either a reflection or a shadow of the holy name. That means that the alignment that is required is not steady. It fluctuates. Sometimes I'm listening, sometimes I'm not, right? It's like that. It's not consistent, it's not steady. That's a natural situation that happens to us devotees who have moving from the position of delusion into the position of bhakti. We still have to go to the purification of all the unwanted things in the heart, of the obstacles. As long as we are, as devotees, inflicted or afflicted by false ego, we're going to experience this duality, the devotee part and the materialistic part. It's called Prakrita Bhakta, or materialistic devotee. It's an oxymoron. It's something that you have two things that those supposed to combine. Either you're a materialistic person or you're a devotee. But in our situation, we have these competing things. Most of us are the same, you know. That's the description of a Kanishta Adhikari. Kanishta Adhikari have to deal with that two things. The practice of devotional service of the Kanishta Adhikari is called Anishtata Bhakti. Anishtata Bhakti means that is unsteady practice. The Anishtata Bhakti, that Bhakti that's happened when we're in that stage, is called Bhakti Abhas. Now, in the stage of Bhakti Abhas, we're becoming purified. Similarly, in the stage, even in the stage of Namabhas, we're becoming purified. So those are designed like that and very desirable. If we are there, we're in the right path. And Lord Brahma, when he tells us, take to this process, accept the process with body, mind, and heart to the narrations of the Lord, to hearing, and then you become free. Then by doing that, even in the position of Anishtata Bhakti or Bhakti Abhas, we're still in that process. That's called Sadhana Bhakti. We're in the practice process. And in the process of Sadhana Bhakti, then, which have all these different limbs, we are becoming purified. We're becoming purified from all the things. So we're closing the gap, which allows to be perfectly steady in the practice of devotional service. So now, you know, when you start to take those obstacles, then I can be fully absorbed at one point in mind, in body, and in words with my spiritual identity as a servant of Krishna. So the recommendation that is given here in this verse is you take up to these narrations. The narrations, the wonderful activities of the personality of Godhead as narrated, like the narration of the killing of Shishupal and the liberation of the kings and like that, all these activities, because they will free from this enviousness. They will free us from the sinful reactions, both prabhada, aprabhada, and the bija, which is the seed. It is explained in the Nectar of Devotion that just the process of bhakti will completely burn those things to ashes. So we are right in the process. And I end with this. I'm going to read you something that Srila Jiva Goswami writes in terms of this practice of bhakti abhas, how powerful it is, how, it's not Sudha Bhakti. Sudha Bhakti, Srila Rupa Goswami described, is free from any type of material mixture. No karma, no jnana. Anyavilashita shunyam jnana karma nanavritat. out of that is only favorable things, service to Krishna. So that's pure devotional service. Sudha Bhakti. But, and when you're in Sudha Bhakti, then you're free. You know, actually, Lord Brahma says that freedom is already your share. You know, is your rightful share when you're in that position. And in another part, in the verse Jnana Prayeshu Udapashanamanta Eva, he says that by doing that with body, mind, and words, then one can conquer the unconquerable one, the personality of God. So that's there. That's our goal. But in our position, just to continue dedicating ourselves to the process of sadhana bhakti, which uh, um, give this, that this bhakti abhas becomes a part of it, then we still will become purified. We will become purified from all these things and able to move to the nishta state. And in the nishta state is the beginning of starting to experience, you know, the attachments towards Krishna. So it's the right path. So this is okay. I finish with this and then we open for questions. Srila Jiva Goswami comments that bhakti may be divided in two divisions. Santata, devotional service that continues incessantly with faith and love, and kadachitki, devotional service that does not continue incessantly, but sometimes awaken. So, a little bit like anishtata anishta, right? Devotional service like that. Incessantly flowing devotional service, santata, may also be divided into categories. One, service performed with a slight attachment, and a spontaneous devotional service. Intermittent devotional service, kada, chit, ki, may be divided into three categories. So for most of us, we're in this kada, chit, ki. So three categories. Raga, bhaja, raga, basa, mayi. Raga, abasa, mayi. Devotional service in which one is almost attached. And two, raga abasa sunya swarup bhuta. Devotional service in which there is no spontaneous love, but one likes the constitutional position of serving. And abasa rupa, a slight glimpse of devotional service. As for atonement, if one has caught even a slight glimpse of devotional service, or the bottom one, abhas rupa, all needs to undergo prayaschita, atonement, are superseded. Therefore, atonement is certainly unnecessary when one has achieved a spontaneous love and, above that, attachment with love, which are signs of increasing abad and advancement in kada chitki. Even in the stage of abhasa rupa bhakti, all the reactions of sinful life are uprooted and vanquished. Srila Jiva Goswami expressed the opinion that the word karsniena means that even if one has desire to commit sinful actions, the roots of that desires are vanquished merely by a vast rupa bhakti. Example of Bhaskara, the sun, is most appropriate. The Abbas feature of bhakti is compared to twilight, and the accumulation of one's sinful activities are compared to fog. Since fog does not express throughout the sky, the sun need do no more than merely manifest its first rays, and the fog immediately disappears. Similarly, if one has even a slight relationship with devotional service, all the fog of his sinful life is immediately vanished. Nice, no? Okay, so I finish here. Any comment or questions? Yes, Chintia Prema.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the lecture. So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly. Um, so even though chanting Mahamantra is the key to get free of the illusion, and envy. Um, and even though I can't, when I'm chanting, I'm not fixed on Mahamantra because my mind always, deviates on many things, but I try to bring it back to Mahamantra. But I know, and I know that it's not, my mind is not fixed yet on Mahamantra chanting while I'm chanting. So even this nama abhas, as you say, it's still good, right?
Yeah.
It's still a path, and it's gonna bring me. It's not that I'm gonna stuck in that level of nama abhas like until the end, right, of my days. If I if I try, bringing my mind back to Mahamantra, that's what I'm worried. I feel like it's been a long process of nama abhas for me. you know.
Yeah, yeah. That's why this um, you know similar to your situation, myself too. I'm thinking that's why it's the beauty of the prayers of Lord Brahma that he says, I just read the translation of the verse. It's always very beautiful, and as devotees, every time we go into something, then we recite this verse. We remember this verse, Tate Nukampan Shushamik Shamano verse, My dear Lord, one who earnestly wait for you to bestow your costless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respects, obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for he has become his rightful claim. So the key, there's several important words there. And one of the beauties that Lord Brahma, something that they don't say. So Krishna fulfilled the desires of everyone, but Lord Brahma, he was almost like used like the guinea pig or something for making all these arrangements. So where is the benefit for him? Lord Brahma wanted to see more of Krishna's sweet pastimes. So Lord Brahma is explained, the Acharya say, he was elevated from the position of Sudha Bhakta to Rasika Bhakta. The Rasika Bhaktas are the devotees in general, the devotees in Vrindavan. So Lord Brahma was able to enter into Vrindavan, into the mood of Vrindavan. So he was giving the benediction that he became the hills, the four hills in the land of Shrimati Radharani, Varshana. So the hills, when Shrimati Radharani performed his pastimes, are the heads of Lord Brahma. So patiently waiting and accepting, And the thing is a dedication to the process. In our case, sadhana bhakti. And if we dedicate ourselves to the process, following the instructions of our, of Guru and Krishna, then we're guaranteed the mercy of the Lord will come. So, we have to, like Srila Rupa Goswami say, Nischarya Utsaya Dharyat, that we have to apply all these different instructions. We have to remain enthusiastic about the process. We're confident of the process and we're patient. So, we're assured. We can have that faith that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I may be covered with mud and grease and gunk and all these things, that is so thick that it's a crust. But as long as I'm bathing, and scrubbing, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So yes. And one more thing that I was, just appreciating and, I'm thinking about in my devotional life is that any of the process of devotional service are under the same principle of our japa, our chanting, hearing and chanting. They have the same capacity to purify us. So when we offer prayers, when we worship the deities, when we serve the lotus feet of the Lord, when we remember the Lord, all of the 9 processes can have the same result. And by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, when we are following the principles of sadhana bhakti, we're being trained and we've been involved in all the 9 processes of bhakti. And the more we become attentive to it and we dedicate ourselves to it, so then we're in that space of bhakti abhas, purifying. And as we progress, then we're moving from this anishtata space in which, sometimes I remember and then I have to bring back and then, like that. It's not consistent, then it becomes nishta. And that's where the real, nectar starts.
Thank you so much, Subala Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
The analysis you did of how envy is present, there was the origin was that you highlighted was that one of feeling enviousness towards Krishna's position. So the thing that I'd understood perhaps was that sinfulness is the root of envy. So would one then take it that it's can be identified as sinfulness to be opposed to Krishna, which then leads to the next things. I'll just tie it in. in this particular verse, the emphasis was put on um, the hearing of past times frees one from all sins. But yet at the same time, there's that the emphasis, like from the prayer of Lord Brahma that you were reading a minute ago, that actually all sins are being eradicated through the, I guess, absorption in Krishna. So it seems that there's eradication of sins happening, but at the same time, the reading of the pastimes of Lord Krishna is what is allowing for that eradication to go on. So that seems to be a very important component in the whole process. So
Yeah, it's a recurring thing, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam is a shelter for all conditioned souls in Kali Yuga. That's is established in the Bhagavatam. And the theme, the recurring thing, is that one absorbs oneself in the narrations of the pastimes of Krishna, as depicted in the Bhagavatam. So the hearing and chanting is the main process that is being highlighted, and from there, and hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, and absorbing oneself in those narrations, is a recurring theme, and the where the origins comes, which comes first, the chicken of the egg. But in this, in the verse of Ichadvesha, is that the original thing is desire and hate, and that causes, the delusion, and that causes the sinful activities. Now, then it becomes a cycle. The sinful activities create more envy and more, like that. So when we become purified of sinful acts, of sinful life, not only the thing that bhakti does, not only the sinful reactions that are present, that are to come, but also the bija, or the original thing, the seed of the sinful reactions or the sinful activities. And those seeds are based on the dualities of desire and hate. So all these unwanted things in the heart, all these seeds, they become also burned. And so it's implied that when we become free from sinful activities, when we become purified from this envy and this hate and these desires that are there, and then we become free. So the purification of unwanted things within the heart are at the heart of becoming free from conditional life. Shimbatan Swakata Krishnan Punyashan. All these things. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. You're becoming cleansed from all these unwanted things. I should stop here. It's time. Thank you very much. Grantara Shiman Bhagavatam Ki Jai.